Hello, Facebook. How's everybody doing out there? Hope everybody's staying sane and safe and healthy. So I'm really bored, and I kind of want to bore you guys. So I've decided to do a little video series where I'm going to be discussing the historical background to some commonly used phrases. So we're going to talk about what they mean in the current vernacular, how they're used, and then dive back and figure out where it got to that point. So a friend of mine gave me a challenge to do kind of a video lecture thing on the Renaissance. There's a lot to that. That's a loaded subject, a lot to chew on. I don't have the chops yet for that. So Emily, if you're watching, I'm doing research, and I promise I have not forgot about you. I will deliver. But this will serve to give me some practice getting used to talking in front of a camera because I don't often do that. So I want to take this time to make sure everyone knows very clearly that I'm not an historian by any stretch. I'm just a guy that loves history, always have. I took it for every type of gen ed it could satisfy in college, and then between that and art history, the better part of all my electives. So I've learned a lot, and it's just always been something that I've been really passionate about. So I tend to retain it better than I do most subjects. So we're going to start today with a personal favorite saying of mine: "Crossed the Rubicon" or "crossing the Rubicon." So what it means essentially is that you've gotten to a point in a project, a process, a relationship, really anything where you've crossed the point of no return, where the actions that are being taken today are going to affect future actions and outcomes irrevocably, and things that start cannot be stopped. I mean, you know what a point of no return is. It's pretty self-explanatory. You don't need me to explain that, so I apologize there. Um, yes, that's what it means. How it got to mean that is you got to go back a very long time, very long time. So there was a guy. He was a Roman. He was a Roman nobleman, member of the Senate. He served as the consul of the Senate, which is like the Senate's leader. I guess you could think of it as president. Don't quote me on that, but I mean, I guess that makes sense. His name was Gaius Julius Caesar. I'm not really sure why Gaius has been dropped from his commonly used name, but that was part of his name, Gaius Julius Caesar. So Caesar was incredibly in debt. He was not good at managing money when he was in Italy, in Rome, but he always had a talent for convincing dudes to fight wars for him. So that dude could raise an army, just couldn't balance the checkbook. So to kind of quell his debts and get back in the good standing with just life in general, he raised an army, took it up north through Italy into the rest of mainland Europe to go conquer Gaul, a region of Europe that was known as Gaul. Think of it as modern day France, a little bit of Germany. So the Gaelic people are also kind of interchangeable with the Celtic people. Caesar goes there to conquer them, knowing that they have a bunch of resources and riches that he can plunder. But it becomes quickly more not really a war of plunder or riches, but more a war of just destruction and annihilation and just pure conquest. He Caesar and his army and his legions, they stomped out the Gaelic culture, the Celtic culture down to the root. They like all their traditions, all their beliefs, all their spirituality, everything gone. Now, we kind of view Celtic culture as synonymous with Scotland, Ireland, the British Isles, which is true to a very big extent. But that's really the part of the of Europe where that culture existed at the time that Caesar just really couldn't get to adequately enough. He couldn't get there enough with enough forces to do the damage that he did in the rest of Europe. So that's why we think about that now. So the Senate in Rome was not pleased with what Caesar was doing because Caesar was making himself extremely wealthy. His debts were paid, completely paid to a surplus. And he was also becoming very popular, almost beloved by the Roman people. So generations prior, I'm not sure exactly when, I can't give you a date or anything, but the Gaelic people actually stormed Rome and sacked Rome, and they fucked shit up pretty good. They didn't destroy Rome completely. Rome still existed as a very powerful entity, but yeah, they caused them some damage. So the Roman people had a very deep seated hatred for the Gaelic people that went back a while. So anybody that's kicking their ass really good is popular amongst them for sure. Now the reason why, one of the reasons, there's many reasons, but one of the big reasons why the Senate was not keen on Caesar's actions one bit was because they were really proud of the fact that Rome no longer was ruled by a monarchy. They thought that the Roman Republic was the shining gold standard example of how humans should coalesce in society and govern themselves. And they want to keep the republic very much. So you got a guy that's becoming extremely popular, almost godlike, wildly wealthy, and of noble birth with all those high connections that they entail. Now, that's exactly the kind of person that could turn himself into a monarch. So they kind of wanted him to stay in Gaul. They thought it was an illegal war, an illegal occupation, but they definitely did not want him bringing back his army, refreshed from all the spoils of war that they had, back in Italy. They did not want that. So they actually issued a decree, Caesar, if you come back into Italy with your army, we're going to brand you an enemy of Rome. That's going to be an act of war, and we're going to make it so that every good Roman citizen has a duty to do you harm if they are able to do so. If you cross into Italy with your army, that is a point of no return. Things will happen that you cannot unhappen. Seeming similar to the saying that we're talking about. Now, keep in mind that Caesar coming back in Italy with his army and then eventually becoming the emperor, you really can't imagine Western civilization without that being a focal point. You really can't even put a thought to how different history would be had that never happened. It's one of the more crucial, if not the most crucial event that's ever happened in all of European history. You could make that argument. So it's a big deal. Kaiser means Caesar in German. Tsar means Caesar in Russian. So you have multiple countries in the future using the word Caesar as the official title for their monarch. It's that big of a goddamn deal. So Caesar knows that if he comes back with his army, it's this whole big thing. You can't undo it. Nothing can be stopped. It's like, the wheel's going to spin, and that's how it's going to happen. So at the time, the border between Italy and the rest of mainland Europe was the Rubicon River. So when Caesar is spinning this wheel that can't be unspun, doing this whole thing that's going to change history forever, he was crossing the Rubicon. Hence the saying, cross the Rubicon. Thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore you too much. Maybe I helped you catch up on sleep. I don't know if you really need that right now, but if you have anything you want me to talk about, any other sayings, feel free to drop suggestions and comments. If you want me to shut the fuck up, feel free to say that in comments too. You're all entitled to do anything really. So be well, everybody. Stay safe, and yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Hope maybe you learn a little bit.